What evil lurks in the dark? A question we have all asked ourselves many times. Together, we can start uncovering the truth and mystery behind the darker side of the otherworldly. And now your host of See You in the Dark, Michelle Roos.
Good evening to everyone, and thank you for tuning in again. We've been having some amazing guests coming on, and a lot of it I have been kind of seeing when I look at, their bios, the things that I try to put out there, so you kind of get an idea who our guest is. But I've noticed there's kind of a trend, people starting to understand their purpose, just like myself, going through the turmoils and trying to figure out where did I fit in, why do I do the things I do, and why do I see the things I see, and then finding out that there was a different purpose and why I'm doing the things that I do. And this is no different for my next guest. Tonight, I am so intrigued to have her with me. I read it and I was just in awe. Her name is Nancy Thames. She is a former Department of Defense employee and a lifelong contactee of interdimensional extraterrestrials. Now, just that alone is just kind of an awe. But what really got me and wanted to have her on the show was, she went through her personal struggles, just like all of us do, until she had kind of started figuring out those struggles were there to have her follow, a road of her purpose. And so, without holding up any more of your guys' time, I really want to bring Nancy on and really start getting to know her. So, if you guys could all welcome Nancy Thames. Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so proud to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for coming. Like I said, your bio is an amazing bio, but there were some things that just kind of stood out. As I've been doing this podcast, a lot of things fall in place of, why are certain things happening to me? Why don't I understand it? And then it's like you get put on this road and you figure out, okay, there's a
Yeah,
different purpose for me. And when you start following it, yeah, you might have some bumps in the road, but it seems like, things start just coming together, those puzzle pieces. And when I seen that on yours, I'm like, okay, this is a perfect fit. And plus, so intrigued by all of it. And, if you could just get started with telling all our listeners a little bit about you and some of your journey, and we'll kind of go from there.
absolutely. Well, my name is Nancy Timms. I am a lifelong contactee with interdimensional beings and extraterrestrials. My first conscious memories started around, say, 2 or 3 and have continued up until this very day. I still have face to face physical contact with these beings. And throughout my life, it has not been easy. There's been times that it was fun and great, and I loved every minute of it. And then there were periods of times when I became junior high age and high school age that the world around me started to make me reevaluate my experiences and to question what was happening. But before that, it was just beautiful fun and games, and everything was just wonderful. I, looked forward to it. It was like playtime. So it's unfortunate, but the world around us does program us into a certain way of thinking, and it really destroys how we our perception of some of these experiences that occur to us, because sometimes what seems as fear or seems as something that's not good, for me, what I've learned is everything in your life that happens, bad or good, is is a way of building you to who you are today. And this is what defines us. That's, we have to learn from these mistakes or these struggles or these things that we call fear. but it does make us strong in who we are. So when I was little, one thing I never understood is, uh, they would come to me and they would take a handheld device. And when I say they, I'm talking about, it was always three grays, one being a female. And she was not gray, she's reddish brown. And she would take a handheld device and run it from my head to my toe. And it never touched my body, but the was a vibrational frequency. And she would run it up and down and do that. And after a certain amount of time, my body would start to float up off the bed. If I was laying down, if I was standing on the floor, my body would start to lift off the floor, and I would be holding her hand. And then I would go through a ceiling, through a door, or through a window at that point. And as I got older, I never understood how this was happening, because all of the biology, science, and math, et cetera, that I was taking as a child in school was telling me that these things cannot be done. But as I've gotten older and I've asked more questions, and I basically have a better understanding of some of the procedures that they do, I now realize that we are in a much lower frequency. Humans are at a low frequency compared to interdimensionals or extraterrestrials. We are in a 3D realm, they are in higher realms, and their frequency is much, much higher elevation than ours. So what they were doing was changing my frequency to match hers. That way I could go through the ceiling or through the window or through the attic. And I can remember going through the attic and looking around and seeing insulation around, seeing boxes where my parents had Christmas decorations stored, things of this nature. So it was real. And I could look down and see that my bed was empty. So this was not a out of body experience, or it was not a dream. It was real, because I was holding her hand and I could feel the temperature of her skin. So it was very real. But at that age, and for a long, long time, I simply did not understand how this was even possible. And I had already figured out, by the time that I started questioning these things, that these were not topics that anybody in the South — I grew up in Tennessee, which is part of the Bible Belt — and these are not topics that you would bring up. They were considered demonic, or they were considered a mental health issue. So, anytime that I would bring this up to my parents, I was very little, they would probably, they thought it was probably just a young child's imagination, and a vivid one at that. But as I got older, it wasn't funny or cute. And they point blank said, you cannot talk about these kind of things, period, with family, with school, in Girl Scouts, churches, family functions, even with your brothers and sisters. We don't want to hear you talking about this at all. So I learned very quickly that I had to suppress it, in order to keep peace and make things easier for myself. So it's not an easy route to go. And a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to experience these things. But as many good things, there's many other obstacles that come with it. For one, nobody accepts these topics, and you're judged before they judge you before they even hear the whole story. And then simply, a lot of people just don't want to hear it at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went through that as a young child. Mine is, be able to see the spirit world, but in a sense of, more of the darker side. I see them as when they passed away, and what their stories were. And to talk as a child about that, it was always don't tell tall tales. And so you're trying to navigate not knowing what way or anything like that. So, your story is so extraordinary, because there are people maybe, in different realms of what we see or do or feel, but went through that same thing. You didn't talk to anybody because, again, Is she having mental health issues, or is she just,
Yeah.
telling tall tales or things like that? So it becomes a really lonely world, because one, whether you're excited about it or you're scared and you're trying to figure out and you're going to the people you think that can protect you, and then find out you're just kind of just there. And, as you're getting older, you're trying to navigate too what's considered normal. And it's you hear these stories more and more with people, especially people with different types of abilities, or like yourself. What do you do with that information that you're getting, or how do you express it? And you know if I wasn't supposed to see it, then it should have waited until I got older. But it was something that was given and that I had to do now. And going through that journey can actually be a very lonely journey. And especially when you're going through a spiritual awakening, it's like a train wreck.
Yes, it is. And for me, it all served a purpose, even though at the times of my life that certain things happened, I certainly did not understand it at the time, but it needed to occur. And now that I'm older, and about 2 years ago, they gifted me with a Kundalini experience. And when that happened, that was the profound or the most meaningful thing that they did. It helped me to congeal or to piece all these missing pieces that I didn't understand, to put it all together and finally understand my purpose, and figure out, look within, figure out who I am, and figure out that, I made a choice to come to Earth. I'm here to do something. I'm not the Nancy Thames that the world around me has programmed me into. I am the inner soul self Nancy that came here to do something to help humanity and to help wake people up, and for them to understand if they've had experiences, whether it be extraterrestrial or anything in their life. It's basically to look within and ask your subconscious to open up into your human consciousness, because our brains block out so many things. And before we get to Earth, anything of our past, of our soul's past, is automatically erased when we arrive here. So it's just a whole new learning experience here on Earth. But for me, now that I do know some of these things, it has made me a much happier. I have a better appreciation of my place here on Earth, my connections with our planet Earth and all living creatures on it and within the universe. And, I understand that it is a gift to be alive. And rather than feeling like I was slaving to a system or a program, just working all the time and just, not even enjoying or even knowing who I am, I, I finally, it's the exact opposite. I do know who I am, and I care more about who I am and spending time with my family than I do about anything else. So it's changed me for profoundly in how I look at trees and insects or any animals or all living creatures. It has changed my world tremendously. Now I love everything. I think I'm officially a tree hugger. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to hold that against you, because I hug trees too. I think
Yeah.
the energy that they give off is the most amazing feeling, and it helps ground me all the time.
Yeah.
During, all of this, and where you're at now, you did talk about there was other times where you didn't know where you fit in. But did you ever go down that road of just total darkness, of just not knowing or who to reach out to, or knowing who was actually on the same page with you and not just putting it out there as, what they would call fake news?
Well, throughout my life, the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials would walk into me when I would feel the most worst I would ever feel. I'd say experiencing 2 divorces, experiencing fighting over children, experiencing all the drama that comes with these human relationships. and whenever I would just get on that really depressed state or whatever, they would come to me and they would say to me, if I ever wanted to come home, I could. And so when I would think about that immediately, I was like, oh no, I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm an aunt, whatever. I'm a sister, to my family. I don't want to leave. And so they are always letting me know that I have choices, but it also made me reflect and realize, I am here for a reason, regardless of what happens. I feel bad today, but there's always tomorrow. Things change. So they kind of help me with those type situations. But yeah, there's been lots of periods of times where, I thought even trying to talk to people about these things was a waste of time and it could be very depressing. But then again, something would always spark in me and turn my attitude around. And I figured that they had a lot to do with that because we are very unique beings and we live a very short period of time on this planet compared to any other beings throughout different universes and galaxies. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm here, to help people understand that we can live and be better human beings. We can learn to be the human beings that we were created to be by changing our thinking and by changing our ways of living into more positive attitudes. And it's unfortunate that in this 3D realm that we're in, it is a negative dimension. And this is a place where wars, racism, um, friction, just distancing of families and communities, and all these conflicts can occur. And what they have taught me is that if we can raise our frequencies and get ourselves through this ascension and up into higher dimensions, which dimensions are not physical places, they are higher levels of consciousness, that we can realize that for decades, humanity has been manipulated and controlled. And we have been forced to live a life of what these elites wanted us to do, because it doesn't really do anything for humanity. All it does is line their pocketbooks and it keeps us under their thumb. So for me, this was a big wake up call, like what I'm here to do. And it is to help humanity to wake up, look within, and remember who they are and how unique we are. And that we have lots of parts of our DNA that has not even activated because of their putting toxins in our air, toxins in our water, toxins in our food, all these different things. Even our news television stations put out negative frequencies, negative energy, negative thoughts. Everything has been done to keep humanity separated because they've always known that was the only way they could control us. Because once humanity wakes up and everybody comes together and unites, humanity will be unstoppable.
I will definitely agree with that. And the thing is, I work with a lot of people, especially people starting to go into different types of spiritual awakenings. And, a lot of them are like, why now? Why this time? And I've always felt that, we're coming to a time where people are needing to wake up. They're needing to
Yes,
see where they're at. And you're starting to see a trend of that. And we've talked about this on the show before, you can go around and say something negative, one word, and it will spread like a virus.
absolutely.
You say one nice word. I've put up things like on social media just to test it out. A nice positive quote for the day. You'll be lucky if you get 5 likes. But if I would put a quote about putting someone else down, that thing would just go crazy, and Facebook would be like, "Oh, you've done a great job right now."
Yeah,
And but when I start talking to some of these people, the spiritual awakenings they're getting, again, it's like a freight train. But, like I try to explain to them, they've been closed off for so long that everything is just coming as a rush because we're all needed. For some reason, we're all wakening up because there's going to be a bigger purpose that we're going to have to be part of.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people are scared about that because they're trying to think of what that is. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but I think it's the shift of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And fear is the biggest thing that holds us back from experiencing. Um, for me, I had to experience fear because for me, it was not what interdimensionals or extraterrestrials looked like. It was the frequency exchange between a human being and an extraterrestrial. They are of a higher frequency. And when you come in face to face contact with them, it is overwhelming. There is nothing I could even compare it to. It's like you feel like your whole heart and your soul, everything just kind of like melts down to the bottom of your feet. And, it's like you feel like everything, every thought you've ever had in your whole heart and mind, every little thing about you, you feel like everything about you is suddenly all known. And it's a very, very scary feeling. So when you have that feeling, your brain automatically thinks that this is something like a predator, and it wants to either run or it wants to fight. So that's the thing. We have to understand that fear is not always understood in the proper way. Just because we think something is fearful and change is hard, really it is a way of pushing us into exploring a new aspect of ourselves, letting us understand that by facing certain things in our life, we can actually become better human beings. We can become the human beings that we were intended to be. But these things that we've been programmed to think was done intentionally to help keep us in this dimension, because once we leave this dimension, these elites, these dark forces will never ever be able to control us again. That's the end of them, because once we go forward, we never go backwards. And it's like going up a ladder. It's like the DNA chain, the ladder. We're going up it, and we will never go backwards. Never. And once people start realizing how easy it is to raise your frequency, and what I started doing was automatically all humans are going to have negative thoughts. This is a negative 3D realm. So when you do have a negative thought, I replace it with 2 positive thoughts. And I continuously do that until it becomes a habit with me. Then you'll find that once you work with yourself within, then you can work with your other family members, or better yet, the best thing that happens is that they pick up on this and they're like, what are you doing? You just have the best attitude all of a sudden. And they'll see that when you have a frequency change, it is like a person that goes running for a long period of time and gets that adrenaline rush. That's what you experience when you raise your frequency. It's the same thing. And people pick up on this. And when they see this frequency and they pick up on it, then they want to do it. And then they will be just like, it will have the effect just like the negative used to have in this dimension, only it's raising us up above this frequency. And as we get above it, we're leaving it, and we learn to be better and more positive human beings. And we start seeing the beautiful things about our planet, the beautiful things that, that it's a gift to be alive. We're not unhappy with our life and our situations, so there'll be less depression on the world, less anxiety on the world, and there'll be less diseases. Most diseases are caused from depression and anxiety in our environment. So it's important that we all work on ourselves to raise our frequency and start this, because we are going through an evolutionary process. This is an evolutionary process that all humans on this planet are going through. Our planet Earth is going through it, and so are we. Everything is changing. We are changing, whether we realize it or not. But the best thing we can do is quit fighting it and work with it, and we can get there a lot quicker. So I know it sounds like a lot, but it does work.
No, and I really agree with you, because it almost feels like sometimes, as children, we have lived free. There
Yeah,
is no danger. We'll jump in the creek and don't matter if there's a snake in there, whatever. But as we get older, it's almost like we're getting programmed like a robot.
yeah,
Everything in our life is you get up every morning, you go to work, you come home, you take a house, you have children, you keep going through these cycles. And, there's times I sit back and go, I almost feel like somebody just plugs me in at night. So this way I'm just right there like a robot. And a lot of people have that, with the blinders on. I always call it the zombie effect. You just
yeah,
kind of keep going straight, you hear a little noise, and then you'll go over to that side. And it's so amazing to see how these people all react to certain things. And then again, it's always the same type, like you said. If we threw out 3 positive words a day, how long really would something like that take? For somebody to start picking it up and going, hey, there's 3 positive words. She's been doing this for a month. I'm going to start sharing those positive words. It would take, I guarantee, years because it would take that long for people to go, okay, is she having issues or is she really depressed? And this is why she's doing this, because they'd want to find that negative part of why
yeah.
those positive words are out there. And it actually, it dumbfounds me at times. Do I get angry and do I have a bad day? Of course, everybody does,
Sure.
but I don't try to dwell in that area, because you're always going to have people who gossip, have bad rumors, who will throw lies out to make themselves look better. So, which way do you attack that? That is living your life, being happy, finding another positive outlet, and continuing to go.
Right. Well, through my experiences with the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials, they have showed me in visions how that it worked for them and how it's worked throughout the universe with many, many races. And the reason why they are here now is because they recognize that human beings are our frequencies are escalating. We are all waking up and they see this. And this is top priority in the universe. This is a big deal. This is the biggest thing that's not only happened for human beings, this is the biggest thing since our creation, but this is a big deal to all other beings in the universe because they have been waiting for us to reach this peak in time, and it has to happen now. And it's a perfect timing because of our technology has increased so much that we need a higher level of consciousness to get us to the level to where we make the right decisions on how it is used and how it is utilized. And it needs to be utilized for all of humanity, not just left for certain individuals or elites to dominate and control its use, because that's where we're going to get in trouble. So this is all happening by design, by divine design, because it needs to happen now. Because if it doesn't happen now and we don't wake up, we could look at some very, very horrible times ahead in our future. So this is beautiful timing. And so they are surrounding our planet with all kinds of frequencies of love and unity and peace. And they cannot come down here and fix all this for us. Human beings are here on free will. And whether we realize it or not, we all made a choice to be here. So now is the time for us to wake up, realize that we've made some mistakes in our past, work at being better humans, work at trying to reach our ascension so that we can change the world. And we'll go down in history as the generation that actually made a change for humanity. So this can be done, but we have to do our part. Nobody's going to do this for us. This is a worldwide phenomenon that's happening on our planet. And it's going to take all of us, or as many of us, making efforts for us, putting a total effort in working towards raising our frequencies and being better human beings. And that will also allow us to be at a closer frequency with the cosmic realm, and they would be able to help us more, but they are unable to do certain things because of there's cosmic laws that surround our planet, because we are here on free will. So we have to make some better decisions, or we possibly could destroy ourselves. Or if not, I don't think they would ever let us destroy ourselves completely, but it might. There could be a bad mishap with nuclear weapons, and I don't want us to have to go that route. I don't want us to have to learn by death that we need to change when we have the opportunity to do it the right way.
And that actually kind of brings me to a question. So, when we look at the biblical side, you have angels and demons. And, the angels are trying to help us to letting us realize you're good people, you have free will, you should be doing this. So when we're talking about your extraterrestrial beings, is there also that bad side of ones that are trying to keep us from not getting that higher frequency to actually do good? I mean, is there a conflict with, us as, humans? Is that the same conflict up there as it would be, on
No,
the biblical side?
no. For that to happen, they would have to be in the same 3D realm that we are in. This is the only realm where these things can occur. All the ones that I know of are of they're a higher frequency. And that's why we can't always see their craft, is because they come in and out of our dimension. So no, the answer is no. But you'll hear people saying all these different things. And that is intentional misinformation to keep humanity separated in division on whether or not, on what to believe, et cetera, et cetera. That's why they do these things, because people that are in control of us now would love to keep us this way. They cannot make money off of intelligent, healthy human beings, and they will no longer have any control, because we will realize that their ways no longer serve us, and we will simply walk away from this programming and these different ways of living that we've had to live, and we will start to enjoy our lives more and live longer and live without diseases. Because when we were created, everything that we ever needed to keep us and sustain us here on this planet, whether it was medicinal or whatever, was placed here. So they're sitting on tons of information, technology. There should be no poverty on our planet. There should be no diseases. We should not be using fossil fuels, which I think everybody knows. But there's so many things that we have been dumbed down and controlled, and these technologies withheld from us because they don't want us to be any more intelligent. They don't want us to be healthy and live longer lives. This is a way that they control our population, is by having us, we work our tails off, and by the time we get to the age of a retirement, we are unhealthy and died young. So, these things are going to change, and they know that a lot of things about the way humans exist and thrive on this planet will not serve the negative part of the dark forces at all. So they do not want this to happen for us. But the interdimensional extraterrestrials want this to happen for us. This is how we were intended to be, the human beings that we were created to be. We should be enjoying. We make a choice to come to Earth. We should be enjoying the experience. It should not feel like a prison planet. It should not feel like we are slaves. In my opinion, we have never been free. And this has been going on for decades, not just recently. I'm talking way back when they had, division of the languages, division of religions, all these things, racism, all these things were done and instigated to humanity to keep us separated.
Well, and I agree. Like I said, everything seems very programmed. But as when you're talking and, either on shows and things like that, have you ever had anybody come forth and say, you know what, I love what you're saying. It seems great, but, I had different experiences. Mine were
Sure.
not so great. I felt
Mhm.
threatened. I didn't have that, high energy effect. I felt like I was pretty much, raped on my body. How do you explain some of that to those people?
Exactly. I know what that feels like. I've been in that position where, the fear is overwhelming and it is real. It is real. But I also know that a lot of times, and I've experienced that sometimes the fear, well, for example, from a extraterrestrial perspective, the way that they would see something like that is, for one, they come down to Earth and they see us, and we are going out and we fish, we hunt, we go out and we tag animals, we take blood samples, et cetera, et cetera. We do these things. So, it's kind of like, why would we think that they were doing anything wrong when we literally do that to all the creatures on our planet? Okay. And I know this for a fact. They are telepathic. They are not verbal. They do not use their vocal. They don't have vocal. Well, they could, I guess, if they wanted to, but they are telepathic. They do not speak vocally or anything like that. So everything that I feel, they feel tenfold. In their reality, there is no such thing as fear. There is no such thing as negativity. There is none of these emotions like human beings have. These things are very foreign to them. They do not like these feelings. When they sense that, they don't want to feel that. They will tap human beings out. They will tap you out and put you in a trance like state. In these trance like states, you are still fully functional, but they can also do other versions of it. They can put you in a sleep paralysis. They can black you out totally to where you can't move. They can put you in a sleep paralysis where you can't speak or talk, but you could be wide awake and watching something. They have the capability of doing these things, but they simply do not like being around hostile human beings or scared human beings because they don't like the fear and they don't want to get hurt either. So they black you out. So what happens is when you come back, you will have all you remember is the fear, and your brain realizes that you have missing or fragmented memories, or you'll have missing time. And your brain, because of our programming and from the world around us, will try to fill in these blanks. And so nobody is making anything up. These things are real. We do not know how to understand a race of beings that are a billion years ahead of us in evolution and are on a frequency exchange. And we feel that frequency. It's like nothing you've ever felt here on this planet ever. And you will freak out. You will get scared. And then your mind during that period, you have all kinds of crazy thoughts and memories. So it's very, very real. It's very, very real. But also, when you hear people talking about like probing and all these other horrific things, they are a billion years ahead of us. They do not use, when you go into our doctor offices and things like that, it would be a billion times better and higher technology than anything that we ever experienced here on Earth. And they would not come billions of miles to do a probe on somebody's rear end. I
Yeah.
find that quite humorous, because when you think about it, I mean, come on now, and they don't like stick things in people's eye and all these kind of things, but these are things that sells books. These are things that sell movies, and this is what people enjoy watching or hearing sometimes. There's a reason why people like horror shows. So this kind of stuff sells. And a lot of people are attracted and drawn to these things, but it's misinformation. But I do believe that people truly have fear and they truly come back and their brain will try to fill these things in the best way that they can, and it does seem like, and it is a very traumatic experience. And for me, I had to push myself. I'm 64 years old. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've had to push myself and fight that fear and force myself to go through and experience the whole bit of it to figure it out for my own self. And that's basically what we talked about earlier. We miss out on a lot of wonderful experiences because we let the fear limit us and what the potential of the truth of it is. So I think it's kind of that same thing, but it's real. I mean, people feel it, they experience it, it's real.
Well, and then, I've heard too, just like we have different nationalities and things like that. And, in their realm, they also have it, different species of different types. Do you feel like all of them, are here to help us, or, are we, are there certain types that are studying us as a human race more and trying to help us, or, I mean, do they all have their own agenda?
No, they all work together. They're all trying to help us. It is so hard to explain. There's so much misinformation out there,
Yeah.
and it's sad. It's really sad, but I understand they did this intentionally to make this difficult for humans because so many people want us to remain where we are. They like this drama. They like this negative realm. They feed off this energy. They feed off the fear. So you have to understand, just as many people that incarnate here, I was incarnated here to help humanity, but there's others that incarnate here to do the exact opposite, even if they don't remember it exactly. But that's, so you have to understand there's people working at this from two angles in this realm, but outside the realm, they're trying to reach out and assist us and help us to reach the next level of our evolution. See, and that's what we've got to understand. So what I tell people is you have to figure this out on your own. You don't have to believe anything I say or anybody else says. Look within, because I promise you, we all made a choice to come to this planet. We all came here for a reason, to experience certain things. And just like it's always been known that at some point we would reach our next level of evolution. And even though right now we don't remember any of this, but before we came here, we most definitely knew that we were going to be a part of this. And that's why I like to say we are the disclosure. And what I mean by that, it is simply human beings waking up, realizing who we are, why we came here, and what we're here to do. Not be the programmed version that works the 9 to 5 like a robot, like you said. We didn't come here to do that. We're playing a game that was created for us, and they're moving this around like pieces. We came here not to play with them in this game. We came here to change it and to end it, and to let humanity become free and enjoy being a human being. and enjoy every aspect of our life and not be dominated and controlled in our life experience here, limited by powers that just simply want to control us.
Yeah, and if you look at it, it does it all the time, because you do hear all these different things,
Yeah.
good, bad, or indifferent. And I know, everybody should, have that free will of their own self-thinking. But I've noticed more and more as time has gone on that nobody really does that free will thinking. It's, what do you think? Okay, I'm going
Yeah.
to think what you do.
Yeah.
And for like myself, I, on a different spectrum of my awakening and stuff from yours, it kind of still follows the same line, just a different way. And that is kind of, those spiritual awakenings come different for everyone. Um, and, and I'm wondering while you were talking, because if they're here and we're supposed to be awakening, are we put like on a timeline? Are we supposed to do it ourselves? Or is there going to be a time where they're going to come and say, okay, we got to shake you guys a little bit, just so you can get the cobwebs out, because we're coming to a time where if people don't start doing it, it could be catastrophic.
Well, here's the deal. It is up to us.
Okay.
It is up to us. We create our problems. We have to fix it. Just like when we're born, we have to
Hmm.
fall before we learn to walk. And that's the way they see us. We are children, and they cannot come down here and fix or manipulate, because we do have to fall before we learn from our mistakes. It's a process, and we have to learn these things, unfortunately, the hard way. But what the good part about that is to look at it from this perspective. All the things in our past happened, and it has, good or bad, it has made us who we are today. And now we're going through an evolution, and we are going through an ascension. And if we are patient and let evolution run its course and not put a time frame on it, because in interdimensional extraterrestrial realms, there is no such thing as time. Time is a man-made construct. It's not a universal thing or anything. That's just something that we came up with here on Earth. So we cannot put a time period on this. It is about humans deciding to better themselves, looking within, figuring out who we are. And I do know that if something bad were to happen, it is because we will do it to ourselves, nobody else. And that would be like the wake up call to the ones that have not raised their frequencies and worked at being better humans. Hopefully we don't get to the point where it would take something such as amount of death to wake the rest of the world up. But if that's what it takes, they can't interfere, but they will not let the whole world be affected. I do know that, because they love our planet. Our planet is a living conscious being. Every single living creature on it is a living conscious being, and everything on our planet is connected and is one. And we are connected to the cosmos, to the cosmic realm. All planets and all extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, we are all one. And whatever happens on this planet, not only does it affect, if we use nuclear weapons on each other, not only does it destroy us or part of us, it would destroy our world, our planet, our environment, every living creature on it, and then ripple out into the universe and start doing its detrimental effects there. They will not let that happen. They will not let that happen, because just because human beings are of lower consciousness and don't understand their connections with our planet Earth and with all living creatures on it, including all the indigenous people that are still on this planet. Just because our egos are so big that we don't think about these things, extraterrestrials and interdimensionals do think about all these things. And they're not going to let us destroy our beautiful planet and all living things on it and ripple out and destroy things within the solar system or throughout the universe. They're not going to let us do that because there's more things that are important than just human beings on this planet.
Well, and that's what I, was kind of thinking because I'm like, if we're destroying it, the
Yeah.
humans are destroying everything as of today, we're cutting all the trees, we're,
Yeah.
polluting our oceans, at some point with them watching and trying to help us, I know we have free will, but there's got to be a time they're up there going, okay, these people are never going to wake up. They're destroying everything they have, you
Right.
know, and that's kind of where I was going is like, at
Yeah.
some point looking in, I feel like, the way we've been talking tonight, like we're in a snow globe,
Yeah.
that they just have to shake that snow globe and say, do you see what you're doing? I mean, we kill animals for, not just for food, but,
For
also
fun.
for fun, and again, like I said, we talk about we're trying to be, eco-friendly, but the stuff that we still make eco-friendly is not doing what it's supposed to do. And,
Well,
it's kind of one of those, you go in it because a lot of us do have that positive thinking, but at the same time, you're like, okay, at what point, and even if you look at it on the biblical side, what
mhm.
point is somebody going to step in and just literally put us all in timeout and
Yeah.
say, okay, we keep trying this and keep trying this and keep trying this. Why can't you guys get it in your heads that you destroy everything you're given? Just like they say in the Bible, we started in Eden, we're going to end in Eden. Well, again, will there be an Eden because we're destroying everything? And that's why I'm like, I, almost feel like an embarrassment if they are watching and they're trying to wake us all up. You know, I'm down here going, oh my God, they're up there probably just shaking their head going, these people
But
are
see,
fools.
but they're not negative beings. They look at us and say, they can do this. They can do this. They absolutely can do this. And it's up to people like you and me and anybody listening. We're
Yeah.
giving all of us the opportunity to start doing our part in everybody. Even if we just make the effort of doing these things, it will raise the frequency on this planet. And once they see that we're at least making these efforts, that's going to do a lot of things in their eyes as to seeing who we are. And if the more the majority of people are at least making the efforts, all it's going to take. I mean, they know we are human beings. We
Hmm.
are not perfect. We are not going to do anything perfectly overnight. The mass number of us cannot change overnight. So they understand all these things. So we have to quit thinking about anything about extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. There is nothing human about it. They are a billion years ahead of us. They see the big pictures that we don't see. And, we just need to be patient, do our part, let evolution run its course. And the way that they explained to me is by the time that these things happen, it will happen in a slow and beautiful way by design choice. It has to be done this way, and it has to be a slow pace because the human brain would not be able to handle it if things were happen very quickly. It would not work. So it has to be done so slow that by the time we get to the end of reaching ascension, we won't even realize that it has even happened because it will seem like our world has always been this way. It will just change gradually and slowly, because all of humanity has to be considered and has to be a part of this. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and it has to be done in a way that everybody understands they're all included. Nobody's going to be left behind. This is everybody, and it's going to expand throughout the whole world, us waking up and becoming better human beings. And we won't even realize it by the time it happens. Like I said, and they show me this. So, and also when I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm spinning my wheels and getting nowhere, they say, be patient. Let evolution run its course.
And with that, that is the perfect ending to this show tonight. Nancy, it has been a pleasure talking to you. We probably could go on for a couple more hours because,
Absolutely. I love it.
when I get started on that.
I know, I
But
love it.
where you finished it off, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
finished off with a great positive note, which anybody listening tonight, I hope you enjoyed the show. And just before we take off, I do want to let everybody know that XCon 2024 will be October 11th through the 13th in Springfield, Missouri, and it's Into the Rabbit Hole. There are going to be so many guest speakers, amazing different things going on, from, talking about extraterrestrials to cryptids, paranormal. It's an amazing time. So you guys can see in the bottom of the screen, there is a link for you guys to get any kind of ticket information you need. And again, Nancy, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been such a pleasure. Hope to talk to you more soon. And to everyone listening, I will see you in the dark.